Don't say anything you would normally say, not in front of other people.
Not in front of nice people. Hi, everybody. It's 2 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time. Carmen Toft reminded me that our notes said Mountain Standard Time. That is Mountain Daylight Time. Thank you for being here. We have some cool things to talk about. Lots of people voting on the topics for today. So if you're new to the group, every Monday morning, Michelle Stampy, our administrator, puts on a little video, welcome video to the week, and then she puts up a poll to have you vote on what you want to hear talked about. So be sure to check that out every Monday.
For those of you who are new and may not know what we look like, particularly not like this, I'm Meg Mankey. I'm the COO of Rose Group.
And I'm Dr. Rachel M.K. Headley, the CEO of Rose Group. And it has been a week of Mondays, let me tell you. So
a week of Wednesdays.
A week of Wednesdays. That's right, because we say every day is a Saturday because we love our jobs and we love our life.
Unless it's a Wednesday.
Unless it's a Wednesday. So maybe we shouldn't have lives on Wednesdays. Maybe we set ourselves up for that. I don't know.
Oh.
What's happening with our...
It just there.
All right, scooch on in.
Yeah.
So anyway, hello and welcome to everybody, old and new, for people who have been with us for a long time, and for the new people. Great to have you here.
Yes. Announcements. Our new audiobook is going to be out in the next couple of weeks.
I did put a post on that just a little bit ago.
Let's just have a moment of silence for the death that is recording an audiobook. I didn't even say that. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, we're not ever going to maybe do that again.
No, we probably will, because we're going to have a lot of more amazing books. It's just going to be a couple of years from now. We'll forget.
And we're going to pay someone else.
I think it'll be too awesome because we narrated ourselves. And so we were in a sound booth for many hours. Shelly is sitting right next to us. How many hours was it, Shelly? Finished? Do you remember?
It was like 12 total.
No,
it was 5 hours.
It was 5.5 hours of total.
So twice the amount of time to get it recorded.
4 times probably. 5 hours, 23 minutes. So Audible is reviewing it, making sure it doesn't stink. Not necessarily that it stinks from our perspective, but that the audio is high quality, and they're going to do their wrapper, and then it should be ready to go. So that is a huge win for us.
Tip for any of you who decide to write a book and then record it, make sure you hit the record button.
Oh, stop it. I forgot about that. I blocked that out already.
I'm not blaming it on you.
Just generically. I blocked it out.
Oh, yeah, not me. That was painful. We lost a couple hours.
Yeah, a couple hours, at least a couple hours.
Okay, what else is new?
I'm doing another part of our business is that I offer project management classes pretty regularly. I'm a PMP, which is project management professional. So if you have big projects you're trying to tackle, I know Heather's on. Hi, Heather. She's an Agile fan. I teach waterfall, not necessarily. So if you're a project management nerd, not necessarily the style of either Agile or waterfall. It's really about how you take a huge project and break it down into pieces you can actually pull off. So I do that every so often. So I'm doing a series of classes. Project Management Boot Camp is on the 20th and 21st of May. And then the 22nd, 3rd, and 4th is Guiding Organizational Change. So those two are, and actually the Guiding Organizational Change is sort of the birthplace of the Kurtz Change Transition Model. So it's a really great way you can actually learn how to execute stuff. Hi, Heather. Let's see what other things are happening soon. I'm going to be in Europe for 2 weeks. And so Meg will be here alone for a little while.
Well, I will be with Shelly.
Alone, but yeah,
I'll be with Shelly.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll be without Rachel.
Yeah, right.
Party.
Be a lot more chill around the office. What else is happening? Anything?
I'm
going to.
Can I drop a spoiler?
Oh, there's a spoiler?
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe there's going to be an IXAF group starting really soon with some cool new stuff. Karen, who's on here, hi Karen, has already heard about this next generation of IXAF.
And actually Heather is sliding right into the IXAF world as we speak.
And so just if you want to know more about the IXAF magic,
Is magic.
you should definitely PM Rachel or I or Shelly McCutcheon immediately, because it's going to be starting soon. Which means, Karen, if you are still listening, I'm going to be calling you soon. And I hope your meeting on Tuesday was great.
That's right. And we also have some other really cool people that are poised to get to join up too. We've got a couple folks that are, life gets in the way and they're finally kind of getting ready to jump in. So it's going to be a really, really good group. And that actually stands for IX Ambassador Facilitator. So it's a way for you to become licensed in all of the cool stuff that we do so that you can execute it in either your company, or if you're a practitioner or an individual consultant or coach with a small team, or even on your own. It really gives you the framework that you can actually pull stuff off better and faster for your people. So it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole program that we do that's leveraged off the book and how we actually deliver to clients. So you get a lot more insight into how to do that. It's really fun.
Yeah. One thing Rachel and I have been talking about lately is that we don't do a very good job of telling people how you can work with us. We do a really good job of nerding out about the cool stuff that we have created.
I don't know what you mean. I literally have 12 copies of our book right here.
Yeah. So still looking forward to your brain. Yes.
Awesome.
We didn't just write a book, and we don't just sit in this office and visit with Shelly all day long.
As lovely as that might be.
About creating more new, amazing ways for people to engage in the workplace. We actually do keynote speaking, and we do facilitation for organizations from groups of 4 to companies that have 10,000 plus employees. And
those are really fun.
Yeah. Consulting work for organizations on what they call, of course, what all organizations call professional development, leadership development. We call it organizational culture and efficiency. It's all the same thing, but we don't
do group hugs as much.
We shouldn't.
So it's hard for us to be like humans first. And, some of those really pro people messaging is really more about taking care of people instead of getting things done. And we want to do both. So that's where sometimes our language and our copy gets a little wishy-washy, because we absolutely prioritize you and the people first, because that's what actually helps you get stuff done. So it's so that's the magic place that we work between the human side and the organizational efficiency side. So that's the fun part.
Yes, prioritize your people, get work done. That's how
right.
we are classifying ourselves.
That's right. Our new web pages and work. So we've been doing a lot of copy, talking about copy and messaging and blah blah.
Yeah. So if you are thinking, man, I really wish my organization knew more about this stuff, but I'm too nervous, or I'm not the right person to be talking to someone who would make decisions about having these people in our organization, you just let us know. We will contact those people. We won't even tell them that you told us to contact them. I was in HR. I'm really good at this keeping a secret game.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I was working with a client earlier this week, and he said, well, I assume confidentiality, blah, blah, blah. And I said, we would not be in business if we couldn't keep things confidential. So yeah, don't worry about that at all.
It's the only way Rachel and I can work together. We keep each other's secrets.
We're never going to get to leave. Never. We're going to have to stay together forever. So there'll be trouble.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing is I'm putting together some one-day masterminds in Brisbane and Melbourne in Australia. So if you are there or happen to know people there that would be interested, let me know, and I'll be happy to contact them as we go, because we would love to have them there. All right, so enough with announcements. Mm-hmm. Let's get into the topic of the day.
Topic of the day is order tolerant versus chaos tolerant.
And I love the fact that the chaos tolerant options on the poll got way more votes, because guess what? Most of you are chaos tolerant, so it's not hugely surprising. Do you have your book, or should I grab one of these?
No, I have
pretty new ones.
Oh, I don't have my book.
Just clean. I know she rode her bike over here.
I did.
That sounds terrible, but it's nice enough. That's the exciting part. So, all right. So chaos to order. So I got the book out in case we want to reference anything.
Right.
What is the first? Do you want to talk about in general the topic, or do you want to talk about the questions?
Let's talk a little bit about what the difference is between the two.
Okay.
As you might have guessed, because we like things to be simple and manageable and commonsensical, which is a Dr. Seussical word, but I like to use-ical it. I know, I did it. Okay. So there's order tolerant and chaos tolerant. I have a funny joke to tell. It's really horrible. I heard it last night at the talent show. Where did the sheep get its haircut?
I don't know.
At the Baba shop. That just kills me. At the Baba shop.
It's actually pretty cute.
Okay, so the difference between order
Thank you for keeping it clean, by the way.
Oh,
really
well,
impressed.
come on. I'm okay. You're welcome.
She looked at me like, who, me? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the difference between order tolerant and chaos tolerant is, as you might imagine, order tolerant people really like order, and chaos tolerant people really prefer chaos, which is also called freedom. And so chaos tolerant folks really drive order tolerant folks nuts because it looks like they're never organized. They're not on time. They don't ever have the right paperwork. They never really know what the topic is or what the agenda is supposed to be. They didn't really remember exactly what they were supposed to bring or who they were supposed to call. And that is super frustrating. These are all things I do.
Or else they invite 3 people more than you expected them to, right?
Yeah. These are all things I do. So I know that they drive other people nuts. And so then the sort of the bad name that chaos tolerant people get is that they're just not organized and they don't care about other people's agendas. And that's not it. I mean, we are organized in our own sort of way. It just looks like chaos to people who are order tolerant. And so order tolerant people are usually very organized. Now, that doesn't mean they have the cleanest desk in the world, probably cleaner than mine, but it's not the cleanest desk in the world, but they really like order and they like to have information. They like to know what's coming next in terms of who's going to be impacted or how is that going to make a difference in our business or what's going on. And so those people always come with their agenda and they've got everything ready and they make us chaos tolerant folks feel like dipsticks because we don't operate that way. And it seems like they're way more prepared than we are. And in a way, especially in business, I would argue that's kind of true.
It's true.
Because chaos tolerant people just offer a different sort of magic to the business. And so I would say those are the high level differences between the two.
Yeah, the other thing that's both thrilling and also a bummer, frankly, is that we need each other. So as chaos people, we need order people because that's how we do things like pay our taxes on time, and we have a website redesign, and all of the things that have to be done that we literally can spend all day talking about, okay, repositioning, and we're trying these 7 things. Okay, let's try the 8th thing. We'll take number 4 and let's massage it differently and all the things. So we can hand wave and whiteboard and be creative all day long. And not that stabilizers or order types aren't creative. We're creative in a way that actually doesn't get anything done. Order people can be creative in a way that actually achieves things. And so the other way too, order people can be very orderly, and that's amazing, and they're great at getting things done, but also they need us to push them a little bit into new ideas and a new space and to connecting things for them. So the big secret of all this, and one of the gals on another group I'm in made this amazing sort of crazy summary that she said, so what you're telling me is we all need each other, but no one has ever told us how we're supposed to actually get along. And that's exactly right. So here we have these 2 different people, 2 different types of people, and we can't live without each other, not really. but by our very nature, we don't get along in the sense of how we see the world is different. There's a woman I've been working with. I'm a chaos person. There's a woman I'm working with who is probably a stabilizer. And we're trying to sell some stuff online. And she says, well, what if we sell 10,000 things in the first week? I'm like,
this is not me, by the way.
Awesome. If we sell 10,000 things, I'm going to hire 3 people and they're going to take care of it. It's going to be amazing. She could not, that is not an answer that is okay with her. Like, she needs to understand this happens and then this happens and then this happens. If I tell her, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, that's the worst thing for her, because that makes her go, oh my God, she doesn't actually know what's going on. She actually doesn't. I thought she didn't, but she actually doesn't know. She just confirmed that she has no idea. And so then she starts freaking out. And then guess what? Nothing gets done. So the magic of how we do culture types is it kind of brings this division or this different ways we see the world to light in a way that actually allows us to figure out how to get along, or at least be aware of it. So you can say, oh, well, I need to pivot how I speak with Susie because Susie's a stabilizer and I can't go in there and go, yeah, great idea, isn't it? Okay, great, let's just roll it out. And then she's gonna freak out. I know that when I go speak to her, I actually have to get the things done. And frankly, we were talking about, we have a huge new client and we're going to have to bring in other people. And I said, there's a couple of order tolerant people on this list of people we want to work with. So that means we're actually going to have to get our shit together and be much more specific about how we deliver things. And so, because Meg can literally walk into a room before a class starts and just go, amazing, and get hugely high accolades for how great she is in the classroom. But we need to take what Meg does and translate it to other people. And so we have to actually sit down and figure out what the recipe is. So it actually does help us be more effective in the long run. So that's the difference. And then that makes us kind of go crazy. Like, how do we actually get along?
Yeah. So I have a great story about how culture types show up and give some really different perspective, even though the goal is the same for everyone, and that these things work together. Because we always talk about, well, your culture types are sort of a layer of your organization, right? Once you sort that out and then you have your core values and understand what that looks like, everything can kind of operate in symbiosis. It doesn't have to be people don't get along so we can't get anything done, or people get along so then we don't get anything done because everybody's laughing and joking or whatever. And we kind of have this common misperception as humans that if I don't like you, or I don't see the world the same way you do, it somehow impacts that ultimate goal that we're trying to get to, but it really doesn't. So here's my story. So my runner buddy, Dave is in the book, for those of you who have read it. This is one and the same Dave. So Dave every year says to me, okay, what races are you going to run? And every year I say, Dave is order tolerant. He's an organizer. But we didn't know that yet because I couldn't get him to take the assessment until recently. And every year Dave would say, what races are you going to run? When are you going to run for your training schedule? What does it look like? How many miles are you going to run a week? When are you going to rest? How are you going to cross train? What have you been eating? Do you want to run together? And oh my God, like, this is supposed to be fun. This is not supposed to be a project. And just in case any of you don't know me or independence generally, planning is a project. That doesn't sound like fun to me. That immediately makes this a task I don't want to have to do. So we would always sort of have this comical argument and debate about, oh my God, Dave, leave me alone. If I'm available on Saturday, we can go run together. I'll let you know Friday night at 10 o'clock. And he's like, how hard is it to know what you're doing in 10 days from now? I'm like, infinitely hard. I couldn't get the emphasis on the right syllable.
But it does illustrate that she couldn't, it's so painful to her to plan for Saturday. She couldn't even speak.
Yeah. Right. I'm twitching. I'm allergic to organization and order. So anyway, this all went on for a couple of years, and then we've gotten better at it. It's still, we've got a cadence of how it goes. But recently, at the beginning of this training season, the last month or so, Dave texted me and he said, well, I took the culture type assessment and I guess I'm an organizer. And I said, I guess you are. Of course you are. We know this. I knew this. So anyway, because he read that, and then he's read the section on the book in the book a couple different times, and really understands
because
he's an organizer.
I bet most of the people on this call have not read it because you're all chaos people. Some chaos people read, but
yeah. And so Dave said, hey, now our joke has turned from, instead of the conversation being, oh my God, leave me alone, or God, why can't you just plan something? It's turned into a conversation where he says, hey, listen, I'm your runner organizer. And so because I am that, last time we ran on Saturday, we ran 11 miles, and he printed out all the races that he thought we should run this summer. And so when we're sitting down and he knows he has me captured and all of my attention because I'm eating, that's the only thing that can capture my attention, frankly. Well, that and a couple other things. But anyway, not be
the only thing you do in public.
Yeah, the only thing I do in public, that and drink is in public. Anyway, so he had my full undivided attention because he sat me down to eat lunch after a run. So I was too tired to do anything else or think about anything else, but it was right in front of me. And we went through them, and I said, oh yeah, okay, well, yep, that one, yep, looks good. Send me a picture of that. I'll put it in my calendar. And so now our conversation has gone from this weird, awkward, we don't see the world in the same way, but we still both really want to run, right? We have this actual same goal, into kind of a joke. And like, okay, I'm the organizer, so I will organize everything and make sure you know when to be and where to be. And then I provide all of the, fun. And oh my God, isn't this miserable? We're in our 15th mile. It's raining. My shoes are wet. My feet are starting to blister, and I'm really freaking hungry. But isn't this funny? That's what I provide. So it has completely changed our relationship from one of discomfort to one of ease and humor. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. But that is such a tiny example. So imagine if you had a company where everybody walked in and everyone was a little bit awkward or uncomfortable, or maybe even big awkward and big uncomfortable. And then everybody could have this. I mean, and this is a guy you know and love and spend free time with by choice.
Best pal.
So imagine if you have in your workplace, and some of you are in these workplaces, where you have to be there, you don't really want to be there, and you have to deal with this crap, awkward conversation, weird mismatch of humans in your life. Imagine just adding the culture type into the mix, and it's almost like, I'm trying to think of like an visual example of like, how like when you have a really greasy pan of dishes or sink of dishes and you put a little drop of like Dawn dish soap and it just pushes all the slimy shit to the edge. It's kind of like that. It's like it literally clarifies everything. It's like really powerful.
Write that one down, Shelley. We are the Dawn dish soap
to the Valdez oil spill.
To the oil of your business.
That's right. To the oil spill of that is your business. That probably won't resonate too much, but with leaders anyway. But that's such a great example. And we worked with the C-Suite Network Tallgrass PR group on one of their strategic retreat sort of days. And we were laughing because they've got super chaos people and super organized people. And guess what? The chaos people are the ones that are working with the clients and problem solving, and the order people are the ones that are writing copy, preparing the annual or monthly reports, posting to the social media sites every single day, because they're the only ones that are organized enough to pull that shit off. And so they immediately started laughing we put up their scatter plot, and they're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And I actually talked to, I was out at Ellsworth Air Force Base yesterday, and we were laughing because one of the guys in one of the units out there found out he was a chaos guy, and he uses it all the time now. I'm the chaotic one. I'm going to drive everyone crazy. But at least he has so much more insight into why some of his staff didn't resonate with his style, and he didn't know how to change it, or he didn't know how to help connect with them until he figured out that it was this chaos order disconnect is really powerful for them. So,
yeah. Should we do the questions?
Sure.
Should we start at the least amount of votes and work up to the finale?
Well, we're already at 25 after, so why don't we start with we can do the bottom ones quicker, maybe. We'll see. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. As
Okay.
long as we get to the end, to the top ones.
Okay.
So the least votes are,
How does being order tolerant affect the way I work independently? Well,
it depends. It
Yeah.
depends. That's kind of a tricky question because order tolerant people are great at working independently in the sense of, like if you think of an engineer and you're the security engineer and you're a stabilizer, which is one of our order tolerant types, but you're team based. A lot of times engineers are absolutely awesome at working on their own because you're the security guy, but you know that 9 other people have to do their parts of the system, hardware, software, firmware, bandwidth, all of wireless,
Underwear.
all this stuff.
I had to throw it in there.
It's so funny. It didn't even occur to me that was even a related word.
Oh, yeah. That's because you're taking yourself seriously. And I don't know what you're talking about.
That's the thing. Other words make sense. So you know that you need 9 other engineers to pull off your thing. And so you like to actually work in a team, even though you're working by yourself. And so in that sense, you're awesome. Order tolerant people are amazing working independently. And then of course the organizers are on the self-driven side, excuse me, and they really rock star being self alone and being order tolerant. So what's the next question about help me embrace change is the next question. I mean, the one challenge you're going to have, I would say, as an order tolerant, if you're talking about working alone, is that you're going to tend to be really focused on your area of expertise. And that's amazing. I mean, that's how you win Nobel Prizes and all that stuff. And so or be Bill Gates, right? But if you want to push yourself out of a comfort zone, that's going to be very hard on your own. That's where the chaos people sort of, can help. So if you're worried about staying in the same place too long, or you're wanting to expand out from where you are, then it's going to be much more difficult as an order person, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of rolls into the next one, I think. But
as someone who is order tolerant, what are some strategies to help me readily embrace change? Well, first, just knowing that you're order tolerant and that you don't love change. That's super important.
Step 1.
Because then you can quit thinking, gee, I'm a weirdo, and start thinking, oh, I just actually I don't prefer change or the environment of uncertainty. So then the next thing you can do, once you realize you don't need counseling and that you're not a weirdo, is go seek out the information that you really want. And so a lot of times that seems overwhelming, especially if there's a big change and it's one that we didn't implement in our own lives. So in that case, you're going to want to prioritize the things you want to know, because otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy and you'll drive other people crazy. Rachel, tell me about this. Shelly, tell me about that. Bob, I need to know this. Jim, I need to know that. And you'll be running around and trying to ask for all this information, and you're going to be nuts trying to do it. You're not going to be productive at work, and then you're driving everyone else nuts. So prioritize your discomfort, I guess, as it were, with the change, and figure out what it is that you really want to know the most about. So let's say they're reorganizing the office and you are going to maybe a different floor, maybe a different side of the building, maybe a different building, who knows? What in that makes you feel really crazy? Is it, am I still going to sit next to Rachel? Is it, are you going to change my schedule? Is it, am I going to have to take all my stuff out of my desk, or will you move it all together? So prioritize your discomfort and then ask the one question first. And I would say exponentially, oh, it's raining. My bike ride home is going to be painful.
I have a baby truck. I can maybe give you a ride.
Maybe I'll let you. Then your discomfort and unease with the change will go down exponentially, I would say, with each thing that you find out more about. And then pretty soon, little tiny things like where's the coffee pot going to be in relation to my desk are going to be a non-issue for you. Are going to be a non-issue for you. But if you didn't know how to do this and handle all that, that might be the one thing you freak out about on somebody and they're like, what the hell? Why do you care about that? This is how this happens to order tolerant people.
Yeah. And if you're a stabilizer, you're going to probably want to know what everyone else is, right? The human side of it. You don't necessarily care to know all of the nitty-gritty backstory, why the change is happening, all the logic. You're really driven by what's everyone else doing and how are they doing, and then where do I fit into all this. Daryl just signed on. Hi, Daryl. And he was telling me a story yesterday about how he's got an organizer on his team, and they are having this very thing where they're moving people around in an office. And she basically said, okay, this is my desk from here to here. Is anything in this space going to change? And they said no. And she's like, fine. Then she can check out of all the change and all the potential crazy. She's like, fine. So I think that's a great example of how knowing yourself and that you need to understand the process is important. All right, what's the next one?
I don't know who that is. How does being chaos tolerant affect the way I work on teams? Well, you are more likely to be murdered by someone who is order tolerant.
Depends if you're a fixer or you're an independent. But chaos tolerant generally, I would say, before we get into the fixer independent sides, chaos generally, I think we get to the point where we see opportunity and change faster. So instead of thinking, oh God, any change that comes down the pike is a nightmare, we might think that right away. She will attest that I go, I don't want to. It's not my idea. I don't want to do it.
That's a thing.
It's a thing. And then like literally 2 hours later, I'm like, oh, I could see where that would work. And so we always have a little baby decline. I don't care where you are, who you are, but we turn that much, much faster than the order tolerant people. So we can be really helpful to a team if the team needs to go through change, and then we can see the opportunity and we can communicate that. If you are an independent and you like change just for change, to change things up and try something new, and you're working in a team of orderly people, order tolerant people, then you might be strung up and killed. But one of the things that's really interesting, and it just came up in a conversation recently, is that a lot of times independent CEOs or independent leaders have a fixer that they work with that then translates what this independent wants to do down into the order tolerant group, because fixers are more team oriented. And so a lot of times they can take the independent idea and go, okay, oh, this is going to freak everybody out. How can I translate this into something that isn't quite so crazy or doesn't feel quite so unorganized? So that's one of the benefits of having chaos people around, is that we see the opportunity and we're more willing to take it on. But again, if you're working in a team with order tolerant people, it can drive you crazy. Or one of our people that's watching here, I won't say who, is working with a person at a very high level in the organization who is an order tolerant person, and the company is going through a big change, and the order tolerant person is having a hard time. And so in this case, it's the chaos people are below the order tolerant person, and that creates a lot of tension. And so a lot of it's just, hey, make sure that this person understands what's really going on. Because if this order tolerant person doesn't feel like they understand what's happening, it's going to just get worse and worse and much more painful.
Mm-hmm. I would add, so if you're chaos tolerant and you're working on a team, and especially if you're working on a team of people who are more order tolerant, I would say good rule of thumb, good practice is own it. Now, that doesn't mean you get to now make an excuse for, oh, gee, I can't do the spreadsheets because I'll never get it done on time. But
even though that's probably true.
Yeah. I mean, you should say that, but you can't use it as an excuse. So you could say, Shelly could say, well, Meg, I really would like it if you would keep the spreadsheet for whatever, widget making updated once a week. And I would say, Shelly, I'm happy to do that until we figure out a better solution, which should take us about 2 weeks or a month to figure that out. But you and I both know that I'm not good at that kind of thing because I'm chaos tolerant. Doesn't mean I won't do it. I will. But if I try to do it forever, two things are going to happen. One, I'm going to fail because it's boring to me. And two, Shelly's going to be really frustrated And well, I guess three things. Three, it's not going to get done. And that really drastically impacts the business in a negative way. And so a good practice for all teams is to identify what things people are good at. And if you don't know everybody else's culture type on your team, but you know you're chaos tolerant, I implore you, do not volunteer to do something that you're not going to do well. We all have, even me as an independent, when you're on a team, and you're doing something that you're passionate about and you care about, we all have the urge to volunteer to do something when no one else is doing it. Whether it's just out of, okay, let's get it done, move on, or, gee, I want to help everybody. But if it is not something that you are going to be able to be good at, whether if you're an order tolerant person, it's some sort of chaos, or if you're a chaos tolerant person, it's some sort of order, don't volunteer to do it. And a nice way to volunteer other people to do things, I am clutch at this.
I can't wait to hear what this is.
Yeah, well, you'll be like, oh, that's why I do all those things. Is to say, you know what? I would not be good at that job, but I know who is good at that job. It's Shelly, because I have seen her rock star that sort of a task or project here and here and here. So you're giving the person a compliment and giving them work that they probably like to do that you're going to suck at.
I think that's a good point. Maybe not the backhanded compliment /
That's not backhanded. That's not
delegation.
backhanded.
But as speaking as independent who has no care for people's feelings, no, I'm stealing. But actually, that's a good point what she was talking about, because if it's an order tolerant task that is short term, you can pull that shit off all the time. It's when it becomes a long-term situation, because all of us can do anything for a short amount of time. We might not like it, but we can pull it off. And a lot of times we do, especially in small teams, or in maybe you work remotely or whatever that might look like. You have to know how to pull things off on both sides of the chaos order spectrum. But long term, it just doesn't work. We tried to have Meg do the sales tax every month.
That is a story for a drink. I was nearly imprisoned.
Yeah, we were nearly.
That's not a joke.
Yeah, and we paid a ton of money in late fees, because no matter what, she knew, she knew. Trust me, I didn't volunteer to do this. That it was due. It was easier to just not do it, because it's for us, we suck at that. Now, we handed it over to our CPA, and she literally does it without thinking about it. Like, she just done. Meanwhile, it would have taken us 7 hours of belly aching before we even started the damn thing. And then we would have got out our credit card to pay all of the, late fees. So, it's the short term, absolutely. You can thrive on the other side of that graph. But long term, really knowing where you can thrive and where you can't is really, really important. All right, what's our number one question?
The number one question is, as someone who is chaos tolerant, what are some strategies to help me become more organized so I don't drive my coworkers nuts?
Oh.
See, I just gave you my number one. You delegate that shit to people who will do it.
Well, I think a lot of times though, we're not in a position to do that, right? And so I think one thing to know about yourself is this is kind of a time management, know thyself sort of advice. But like for me, if I'm going to get anything done, like productive work happens in the morning, or for some reason after 10 o'clock at night is when I get out the website and start messing around with the details of the website. But in the morning, if I have to sit down and do anything, we have to put down, I'm just going to tell you a little story. Out of the book, we did the audiobook version, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, in the program here. And about every so often, there's a graphic. Mm-hmm. Well, in an audiobook, you can't possibly describe the graphics, or the book would be twice as long and you wouldn't understand it anyway. So how we handled it was, we said, in the audiobook version, which you'll hear when you get it, graphics about the culture types can be found on ixleadership.com/graphics. Then you go to the graphics URL, and then you can see the graphics we're talking about. Theoretically. Well, the audiobook's going to be live in 2 weeks. And so it occurred to us that, hey, we need to make sure that link is live before the audiobook goes out. Well, the idea of going through hold on, 250-ish page book, locating all the graphics, somehow documenting what page and what they are, sounds like I would want to die. Like, that sounds like the worst job ever. And so I just know that if I put it on my to-do list, it's not going to get done. So I asked Shelly to do it. Thanks, Shelly.
I told you do this shit too.
You gotta send me the link though.
I know. I still need to send you the actual.
We can't
document.
even send the actual link to ask people to do the work.
So as an example, that's a much more organized, much more order tolerant task, is to go through basically the easy way to do it is we have the PDF of the entire book because we had to upload it into LinkedIn and send it to the printer, blah, blah, blah. So you can actually page through the book and then copy the things out. So there are easier ways to do it than go through the book and try to somehow reconcile the things, the list of graphics with the chapters and all that. So we have figured out a way to make it easier, but at the end of the day, someone's going to literally have to go through every page of the book and document where the graphics are. And so, yeah, I heard that and it made me like, I don't know, cry isn't the right word, but pretty much. But if I was going to take that on, if we didn't have Shelly on the team, I would probably push it off to Laura or Kelsey.
The kids.
But if I had to do it, I would do it. I would get up first thing in the morning. I would not turn on any social media, any email, any phone. I would get up and just focus and rock it out. Because I can pull off a lot of big shit if I need to. But it's not where I'm the best. So anyway, so that kind of goes to that.
Yeah. One thing, I'd say the first thing is if you know yourself and you know you're not good at it, you just better, one, don't volunteer for a bunch of stuff that you know you're not going to be good at.
But if you're assigned,
and
sometimes you got to do it.
Two, really more, I don't know, maybe more importantly is just sort it out. If you have to get it done, sort it out. Get up early in the morning if that's your thing. Stay up late at night. Put it on. My trick is I put things on my calendar that I have to get done. I put them on the calendar, and then the agreement in our office. So this happens a lot. People who are chaos tolerant are asked to do something, or if you volunteer yourself to do something, and it's not something that's in your wheelhouse. But then other people, if you don't put it in your calendar, then other people will run over your time that you would normally be spending on that. And so if you put it in your calendar, and then the agreement is, listen, if I have time blocked out in my calendar, even if I'm sitting in my office with my door closed, that means I have to focus on this in order to get this thing done. And so making sure you sort of have those open agreements or alliances with your colleagues and teammates to say, this is what I need in order to be successful on this project. So we joked a lot about delegation and backhanded compliments, but what I will say is, as a reminder, we don't only focus on, joy and happiness in the workplace for the sake of people being happy. There are lots of leadership theories out there that talk about that, and that's fine. But they're sort of leaving on the table all the important things about getting work done and being more successful in your business, not just people getting along. And so all joking aside on the delegation part and the backhanded compliments, the point of doing that is not to say, oh, gee, I don't want to do it, and so Shelly, you can do it because you're amazing at it. The point is to say, listen, our business is not going to run more efficiently if I, for a long period of time, am asked to do something that is not a preference of mine, a work preference to my state of being. So what it does then is if Shelly can go away and work on something that will really only take her maybe an hour because she can sit down and juice it out and be done, then I can go work on something creative and crazy that might help. And maybe I go for a run and then I have 3 new ideas.
Or do a sales call, which increases the revenue of the business or whatever.
Right. And so
Meg just doesn't push her work off on people and then disappear for runs. I mean, that's what it sounded like, but it doesn't really happen that way, bro.
Well, I'm an independent. I don't care what you think it sounds like I do.
See, it's exhausting sometimes.
but anyway, our point is not that, oh, just delegate away everything. And I know that sometimes you don't have that option, but if you do have an option to say, so-and-so would do this better, and then I will do this part because that makes more sense. That's why we say it. It's because we focus on prioritizing people and getting work done. And it's all about the best way to leverage the energy with all the people on your team.
Yeah, there's another sort of funny example of the opposite where I was on a big team of order tolerant people, and I was apparently the only chaos tolerant person, because one of the things we were doing is we were preparing this huge, massive slide deck for this huge, important review with a international group of people, literally 26 countries, amazing event. But we were running the show, so we were going through the slides that we would need to present. And then in the engineering space, a lot of times slides are used as documentation. So they want to make sure that the slides are right, because if someone goes back and looks at them, chaos people have no idea where the slides are from the last meeting, but order tolerant people do. So the order tolerant people might go back 6 months later, look back to slide 75 and say, oh, well, that's not what I expected to see. And so they were this group of people, very highly paid, very, very intelligent, probably the smartest people I ever worked with, sitting in a room, probably 15 of them. They were editing slides together. Like, let's move the title over this way. Oh, this graphic needs to come up here. Like arrow, arrow, arrow. The thing moves up. And I was like, I can't sit here. I couldn't do it. Like, there's so many things I could be doing. I don't care where the title goes. I didn't care. And so I literally got up and left and said, hey guys, when you're done with the editing and you just want to run this and you want my eyes on it, let me know. But I could not sit there. And I tell you, I really paid for that because I didn't realize that's what was going on. I felt like I'm being the jerk, right? Because I'm not going to sit in the room. I'm going to make everyone else sit in the room. But what I do realize now looking back is that actually was torture for me, but that was really important for them and they really needed it. And so what I should have said is, I know this is incredibly important. I'm going to go do some other things. When you guys are done with this incredibly important thing, call me. But what I probably said was, this is crazy shit. I'm out of here.
You guys are a bunch of weirdos.
You guys are a bunch of weirdos. And so now that I know and I can honor the way that they need to get things done, it would have gone a lot better. And I would have understood more why they need. I still wouldn't have stayed in the room because that didn't honor me and what I needed to do. But I could have honored the way they needed to work instead of being dismissive of, or thinking that I was the one that was the crazy. Well, I am the crazy one in that group, but something wrong with me or them. It's really just how they see the world totally differently. So,
one last thing I would say is for chaos tolerant people to be more organized, ask more questions, because what we chaos tolerant folks don't ask a lot of questions because we don't actually seek a lot of information out. We need
we might be constrained by the rules that happen.
Yeah. Better to ask forgiveness than permission. I bet you can guess how things run around here. But if you're in a meeting and you're feeling like you're not organized, or whatever, you're in a group of people and you're thinking, I am the problem here, or boy, I'm the one who doesn't have my poop in a group. It'll be forceful. Start forcing yourself to ask more questions, because then you'll probably jot down a few more notes, whether it's sort of in the back of your head or actually writing things down, and you'll find out more about the details and things that are going to happen. It'll just sort of by osmosis, you will start paying more attention to what's going on, and it'll give you a little bit more of a foothold in what's happening. Because what happens to me all the time is, if I don't take notes or ask questions, then somebody says, oh, well, remember when we talked about blah, blah thing? Nope, I don't even kind of remember it at all, not even a little bit, because my brain immediately moves on to the next thing. So if you put some more data points in your own head about it by asking questions and engaging yourself in the conversation, you're more likely to pay attention to the full scope of what's going on and remember it.
Yeah, and Meg also takes notes too, in the sense of when you have a conversation with someone and chaos tolerant people are always okay with jumping into a conversation and having debates and that sort of thing. But if you're working with people that are more order tolerant, sometimes you have to be patient or more patient to make sure they feel like they have an opportunity to speak. And so Meg uses the trick of she just takes notes while they're talking. So then she's less likely or less inclined to say, hey, jump in the middle instead of just waiting until they're done. And I think you talk about that in the book, don't you?
I think so, yeah.
I think you'd have that story in the book. So that's another little trick for if you want to be more organized in an interaction or a meeting, is to actually write down the things that are happening. Because then again, I think it's also a mental trick of you write it and you also help remember it too.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should have my boyfriend start doing that. He's an independent and he swears that I don't tell him stuff. I swear that he doesn't listen.
I can attest to both of those things being true, actually. I've seen both things
ways.
happen in real time.
All right, I suppose.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's it. Those are all
great.
the questions.
All right, anything else we want to share or close with? Shelley, did we forget anything?
Nope.
Okay,
It's got all the things. Very
got all
organized.
the things. Okay. We totally winged it, but we do.
Oh, yeah, we are so organized. We plan these things out months in advance.
Totally. I'm sure it looks that way.
Yeah.
I guess one thing is we'll reiterate the IX Ambassador Facilitator program is we're going to kick off. We're going to do what they call in the business a launch of a new round, a new cohort of IXAF facilitator training. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, let us know.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think are we going to change our sign off? Our outro?
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay, let's keep it.
Okay.
All right.
Lead powerfully.
Change the world. See you next week.